This is Nyeri town, about 180 kilometers north of Nairobi. Nyeri town, which is the administrative center of Central Province, is famous for its farming activities, thanks to its fertile soil and envious greenery. This is the road that leads to Teresa Wangoi's humble home in Gitero. This road, rough and uneven, is perhaps reminiscent of what has become of Teresa's life. A life of a woman who, having always been accustomed to tilling her shamba, consisting largely of bananas and coffee, has now been rendered unproductive due to a terminal disease. 45-year-old Wangoi is married with 4 children. Children whom she now can't properly take care of because of a disease that she has been battling with since January this year. Wangoi has a cancerous tumour in her brain.
She started with a goiter, which continued swelling. Later on, she developed a fracture, which is still healing. So then from there, she was admitted at Madari. She had metastasis and it had spread to the brain. So she was discouraged from surgery. That is when they referred her to us for palliative care.
We find her in her modest wooden house, patched together with cardboard in most areas to keep away the scathing cold of the night. Wangoi, like many cancer patients in this relatively poor rural setting of Nyeri, is hard-pressed to afford the necessary treatment and palliative care that their condition needs. So when Nyeri Hospice was launched in October of 1995, there was a collective hope that finally these people would at least have their conditions managed at a fairly affordable cost.
Nyeri Hospice started as a satellite of Nairobi Hospice, initially to take care of cancer patients. But with the advent of HIV and AIDS, we started also taking care of HIV patients.
Kathleen Sembi, who was my wife, she wanted to start a hospice in Nyeri. And I just asked her, what is it that you need? And what she said was she wanted an office and she wanted a car. And I said, fine, I've got an office which I'm not using, you can have that. And you can have that for 5 years rent-free. And then the car, she was my wife, she had a car, so I said, you can use that car at the moment and we'll keep on fueling it. And then when you can afford it, then that's the way it'll go. The hospice started as a home-based hospice, so that the cancer patients who could not come to the hospice, we went to them.
Some of these cancer patients are sometimes not able to make the trip out to seek their therapy due to the advanced condition of their illness. These patients remain imprisoned by their bodies, whiling away long hours in their beds with only their thoughts as company. Some patients, like Wangoi, are lucky to have the care and support of their close relations. Others are not so lucky. The nurses from Nyeri Hospice are compelled to make house calls on these bedridden patients and assess their progress, administer medication and counsel their relatives whenever necessary. Wangoi is grateful for the hospice for helping her. She praises their selflessness and dedication to help people in her circumstance.
Nio matumite ginya hau ginyete hamwe na mwathani ona itariki mukandeithia mukaoyira ngire ndawa ri kakena na ngaigua wega icio ni wendo munene.
Wangoi's pain is more manageable now, and when her daughter-in-law tucks her in for a little nap, she is safe in the knowledge that she's not alone in her battle and struggle to live with cancer. Nyeri Hospice was the first rural project established to provide quality palliative care to the terminally ill patients and their families. They offer, among other things, nursing care, patient and family counselling, hospital consultations, bereavement support and daycare services. Every morning, the nurse's day usually starts with a status and brainstorming session. In these meetings, they go through the day's diary and their plans of action before they leave to check on their patients' progress.
So those are the 2 patients we have scheduled to see today.
Quite often, the nurses have to travel long distances to check on their patients. On this particular day, they leave for Kerugoya town, which is an hour's drive from Nyeri. They wind through weather-beaten roads, weaving through picturesque landscapes and homesteads where villagers go about their business in total oblivion of the purpose of the white van's visit or of the disease that lives amongst them. Cancer is a disease that the people in this area are not altogether accustomed to, and there's a certain reverence around it, which is fueled more by its stigma than by its virulence. Nyeri Hospice covers most of the Mount Kenya region, and so the nurses, despite their huge workload, have to travel far and wide in order to offer this much-needed service.
Cancer is an abnormal growth of cells. Cells grow out uncontrollably and abnormally, resulting to tumors and lumps. When a patient is diagnosed of cancer in stage 1, there is a possibility of getting a cure. But when the cancer goes to stage 3 and stage 4, unfortunately there is no cure. And we always receive patients here, 80 to 90% when they are already in advanced cancer.
Meet 45-year-old Alice Wanjiko. Wanjiko is suffering from cancer of the lip, which has progressed to an advanced stage. The extent of her facial deformation is so severe and grotesque that we are forced to censor it for its unsettling nature. Her husband, John Karohio, who has been taking care of her since she was diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago, talks about their experience with a cocktail of pain, bitterness and angst.
Tumekaa na Alice kama miaka 27 years. Kaanja kusikia kaushuku kidogo kwa upande wake wa kulia, ndani kinywani kyake ndani.
The doctor took a biopsy which confirmed that she had cancer. She was referred to Kenyatta National Hospital, after which radiotherapy was done.
With astronomical hospital bills, the family had their backs to the wall.
Wakati huo nilikuwa naendanga Nairobi kila siku. Nilikuwa nazinda mingi. Kadona sasa ikaanja kukua. Wakatuambia sasa atuesaidia Alice.
They sought help from Nyeri Hospice, which has since taken charge of managing Alice's sickness.
Hao wamenisaidia sana kwa sababu niko nyumbani, wananipatia madawa, wanakuja kumwangalia. Sasa nikawa na furaha.
Nasema usichoke, kazi tutafanyia Alice pamoja.
And amidst these major tribulations that he has had to face with his wife, John can afford a smile, albeit behind the mask of unhappiness that the disease has brought into their lives.
Walinipatia sifa ya kuendelea na my wife sawa sawa. Na naona ninamhudumia. Siwezi endanga huko kambe kama wazee wengine huko Mongeza, na kaanga na yeye hapa. Nitamhudumia mpaka mwisho.
Cancer therapies require enormous resources to be able to adequately cater for the needs of these patients, and Safaricom, together with Nyeri Hospice, has always looked for activities and innovative ways of raising these monies.
We were very lucky that Safaricom actually adopted us in some ways, because we needed a fundraising activity which could give us a lump sum.
Safaricom has been our main sponsors in our charity golfs since the year 2003.
The team, as I have been supporting them in golf and raising money for the patients, once they were visiting a patient in Kerugoya, and when I went there and found this, the condition the patient was in and the pain the lady was in, I was really touched, and since then I have tried as much as I can to support the hospice. Safaricom came in as the main sponsors, and they have supported us wholeheartedly, and they have never stopped helping us to help the cancer patients.
In another homestead, life continues normally. The chores that define such existence are executed with the same discipline they usually command. The cows are fed from their shade. Utensils are washed by the water reservoir. This is life as it should be. It seems business as usual at this home, and it is hard to tell that they are still smarting from the loss of one of their children to cancer. Grace Wambui passed on in March of this year, the mound that marks the grave in the shamba still fresh. The wounds are yet to heal.
No wetu kahuthia etukona ti undu gani nata meri ina kana kau nika rwarire ritho riu magitwira mwana ni cancer ngimera acha makijira ni maguthie nake mamuthondeke.
Grace started to develop cataract-like conditions on her eyes, and after a while she became sick and her health deteriorated before she passed on. Little Grace, in all her innocence and beauty, succumbed to cancer. Her death shocked the village, and it cast a somber mood. Cancer has always been regarded as an adult disease, which is a terrible misconception. It's an absolute tragedy for innocent children to live through this pain and die from this disease. The final reality of the disease is often fatal, and Nyeri Hospice appreciates the needs that the bereaved families harbour, and as a result offers bereavement support services to shore the families through their loss and to a point where they can afford to emotionally stand on their own 2 feet again. The management of cancer calls for an all-rounded therapy which encompasses a combination of the physical, emotional and spiritual support system. Nyeri Hospice is more than a home. It's a fort for people who have been failed by their own flesh and weighed down by a lifetime of drugs and therapy. A place where they meet to derive strength and purpose from each other. In these sessions, they share their unique experiences. Each day holds hope, and that hope is shared around the room.
Ndiraturaga Kinyata kuma 204 ngakirwara mbiruthi yari ya cancer yaumire ritho. Riria ndaigua ndahinyiririka ndirikanaga o kiugo kiria tuheagwo guku na mahoya maria tuhoyaga ngona uhonio
no woka guku ukokanyito wega ukamukirwo uongetha kuga ni no ngatho nyingi muno igicokia hari hospice
na njwire igitwika ni aitika yothe ndiratwire nditwire kiongo giki murona igaitika ni undu wa hinya wa ndawe na riu ni ndikitie.
Their faces betray their pain and suffering, but their determination remains firm to continue to fight the battle. And the people who stand with them, the people who wash their wounds and wipe their tears, do so with selflessness and the conviction of dedicated care.
Wale wanasaidia kama hawa Safaricom wanasaidia hospice, waendelee kuwasaidia sawa sawa namna hiyo kwa sababu wamejitolea.
What Safaricom has given us a lot of support. Without that money, a lot of things we are doing couldn't be done.
I see God in every human being. When I wash the leper's wounds, I feel I'm nursing the Lord himself. It is a beautiful experience.